Hi, Gemini. Welcome to your April reading. We're so close. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. There are a few points here and there in April where our insecurities can get the better of us and we can say or do something that we'll regret. But we're going to talk about why our insecurities might be getting to us. I would just like to remind you before we go any further that we will be taking a look at the astrology for April and as it applies to you as a Gemini sun, but especially as a Gemini rising. And that we'll be using the tarot as Jungian tarot, which is a way where we read the cards as archetypes and use the guidance of those archetypes as they apply to the seasons and cycles of astrology that we know that have persisted throughout time. So, first up we have the Knight of Wands, and then the Eight of Swords, and the Two of Pentacles. Okay. Now, your priorities are shifting. It may seem from the outside to people that you are changing direction suddenly or that you're not keeping them in the loop. You're not. You're playing things very close to the chest, and it's because there is a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction coming up. It'll happen over the course of 10 days, from the 7th of April to the 17th. For Gemini, this is all about love. And so this requires a huge change in mindset because, as you know, especially Gemini rising, you have been in a prison of your own making, in a prison of your own thoughts, which is very much the traditional definition of this card here. Whatever is keeping you hung up is in your own mind. It's in the way you are thinking about the situation. But you knew this, especially when it came to love. Now that this huge wave of luck in love is coming your way, it just makes sense that first you'd have to deal with whatever this thing is that's kept you hung up, whether it was misunderstanding a past relationship, some old blame, some unhealed or unaddressed wound, whatever it is, it finds a magical way to resolve itself. Might not be pretty. Might feel like you're getting dragged through it for a little bit, but you'll be okay. Just remember that all it's doing is making room. Room for what? Room for something good. Room for something that starts small and should remain small. You don't want to go head over heels into this. You don't. Listen. You don't want to rush into this. You don't want to be impulsive and follow your heart right now. Right now, what you want to do is you want to play it cool. And you want to observe how much work is put into being around you, getting to know you. You know all the things that you do when you like someone? Do not give this person, who inevitably is going to find their way into your life now, do not give this person the time of day until they start to exhibit that sort of curiosity about you. Oh, well, I don't even like when people are curious about me. You're thinking, I like to be curious about others. It's just who I am. Well, when was the last time someone was as interested in you as you are in everything? That's what we're looking for. That's what we want. And that's the bare minimum that we're going to settle for. Okay? So there's no falling head over heels. And there's also no trying to fit someone into an existing mold. If you have some picture in your mind of how it's supposed to look, You can't just take a passing random stranger with a nice face and try to fit them into that mold. It will break the both of you and probably a lot more in the process. So please move things slowly, and as the crappy childhood fairy on YouTube says, do not try to crap fit anyone into your life right now. If you have to make all sorts of excuses and exceptions and do all kinds of mental somersaults to account for someone's behavior, dead it. Don't put any effort into it whatsoever. Not mental effort, not physical effort, not emotional effort, nothing. Okay? Excuse me, let's move along. Okay, but remember, before we move forward, this big luck energy, this big love luck energy, it's very easy to misuse and attract the wrong thing to yourself. That's why it's very important that whatever comes into your life, no matter how great it looks, that you move slowly. Remember, when you really like something, or you really want something, or you really like someone, or you really want someone, what happens? Start to get a little bit insecure, right? That really confident Gemini, that's the Gemini that people see when they want us, right? Oh, it's the Gemini that they see when we want them. Be cool. Be cool. Okay. Now, speaking of being cool, be careful that your insecurities don't get to you, especially if you have a guilty conscience. Now, let's move backwards from there. If you are in the process of using someone and you are not stopping, you have to. You're not going to be able to walk around and be as confident or as wonderful or as good looking as you could be with this thing hanging over you. By the same token, if you are someone who is being taken advantage of and you have allowed it for a long time, and now you're worried that if you disallow it, that the foundation on which you built your current life will fall apart, well then you know what? Be brave, be strong, believe in yourself, and do it. Because you also cannot move forward with that sort of energy hanging over you. It's just not fair. And it's not feasible. You're not going to be like at your best and feeling your best and looking your best and, you know, thinking your best with this thing just, you know, siphoning off of you all the time, all the time. And it's not possible, right? So, if you have money invested with other people, if you had some sort of business with other people, you may want to wrap that up because joint money doesn't seem to be a very good idea right now. So I would, whatever it is, I would just put it on hold or wrap it up for now. It's very possible at this time to get some sort of, excuse me, shock about your finances. Some sort of something you have to pay, something that, you know, some sort of debt. But you have to be careful not to preempt yourself and get into a state about it, because more often than not, when something like this comes up and the Tower is indicated, it's usually something that if you get it over with now, it's so much better than if you hadn't known about it for 5 years. So it's sudden, maybe a bit shocking, but long term, it's saving you. So just, you know, remember that when you get hit with some news that you're like, oh, damn it. So like I'm saying all these things, and I'm like, remember this and remember this. And you're looking at the cards and you're like, okay, this doesn't actually, Umber, look like a fun month. No, it is fun because there's all this good luck all around you. And I know it doesn't seem like it from the things we're talking about, but it's because it's in a very specific area of your life. Haven't you ever noticed when you're romantic life starts to pick up steam. It's like other parts of your life start to like lose their luster a little bit, because your energy is what brings the magic. So if you want to counteract any sort of jolt that you could get, any sort of news, financial news that you could get, or, you know, sudden debt you'd have to pay off, or whatever it is, sudden expense, if you want to offset that, the best way to do it is really just work through all of April. Just put it in your head that for the next, at least, let's say, give yourself like 25 days. Let's say that for the next 25 days, you're not really spending money and you're just going to work, and you will end up offsetting anything that may come up. And you'll also gain a lot of self-esteem from it, because you're facing it head on and feeling better and more capable with every day that you're pushing through. And probably end up with a lot more money than you realize. So try it out. Now, on the 12th of April, there is some sort of professional fulfillment, something that really strokes the ego and makes you feel good and makes you feel like, yeah, this is something I've been looking forward to for so long, and I knew I would get there somehow. And it's so exciting that I'm here. So the 12th is really special. It is special for everyone, but especially for us, okay? Now, when it comes to, like I said, this financial energy of paying your debts, and it's really important that you understand why the debts are being paid right now and why the money needs to be saved. It's not just for financial security. It's not just for your mental health. This is part of like a larger theme with us that's going on, where we're closing out a cycle. You know, any tabs that are open that need to be paid, any lingering bills, it's just a closing of accounts, if you will. And so a lot of what's going on financially is just symbolic of that, right? Okay, so there's that. And then let's move along. Actually, just mentioning that made me remember that I need to go by the hospital who took care of me when I was in that really bad car accident, and I need to pay that bill because every time I try to pay it online, I can't. See, it's stuff like that. You see how like symbolic that is? You know, I came really, really, really close, God forbid, to dying. And the place that took care of me and basically was like, I can't believe nothing's wrong with you, but we can, you know, you're walking home tonight. I haven't been able to pay them online, even though I've tried many times. So it's really important for me to go there and pay that. And although it's, of course, very important to pay it because it's a debt that I owe, it's also important because it is the debt I owe for that particular incident. And that particular incident is now part of a past and of a cycle that has ended. And now everything that is associated with that cycle that's ended needs to be, you know, added up, or there has to be some account given for it. So that's what I mean about things coming up or things you want to do, you want to gladly pay, because you understand the symbolism of it. You understand why it's important to do this and how psychologically it's important to see and understand the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. Okay, so good. Now, if you are a Gemini rising, you have this, or if you're a 12th house Gemini sun, you have this 12th house solar eclipse. It's not a 12th house Gemini sun. That's not what I meant. I'm sorry. I'm confusing myself because I'm reading notes and talking at the same time. One second. So this 12th house solar eclipse, if you are a Gemini rising, or just this solar eclipse in Taurus right behind you, it's time to clean up whatever cognitive dissonance you have going on. It's time to come to terms with what it is that you really believe and what do you sort of stake your morality on. Where do you put your money where your mouth is? There can't be much more of this fundamental duality anymore. You can, of course, this duality can exist within you about almost everything. But more and more with time, your morals and principles have become aligned to a degree that the duality just isn't present there. And this is, this is a great thing. You're ahead of the curve, because that is a large part of what the solar eclipse is asking of you is, does your external life accurately reflect what you believe or what you purport to believe? Or do you pretend to be something that you're not? Or do you believe yourself to be something that you're not? Essentially, are you a hypocrite? And it's a big question. It's kind of an insulting question. It's definitely the one that puts us on edge. But a solar eclipse in Taurus putting us on edge sounds about right. These are uncomfortable questions. They do require a lot more light being shed on areas that we're not very comfortable with, but that's exactly why this is happening how it is. And again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I think it's important to be grateful for it. It's a huge opportunity to balance some books. It's okay, says the Knight of Swords upon seeing the tower burning. It's okay to change direction. You know that, right? It's okay to be moving in one direction and turn around and go in either the opposite direction or make a left or jump up into the sky and levitate. It's okay to change even though you have momentum. And I know there's so many of you right now who need to hear that, because it seems like at a time when everyone is having trouble coping and you are not, that it would be the most unwise of decisions to right now change direction. But you have to understand that if you don't leave yourself open to the possibility of changing direction, if you don't allow yourself that freedom, you will start to feel caged, you will start to get weird, you will start to act out. And then it's like, like every other time when you tried to discipline yourself, you come right back to, well, it would have just been easier for me to do the thing that I wanted to do instead of making this much bigger mess. And it will be the same now. So you can't look around at everybody else and say, well, if everyone else is doing this and you feeling like this or struggling like this, and I'm blessed and I'm lucky and I'm happy and I just need to put my head down and do what I need to do. Yes, short term, maybe that is what you need to do. Yes, of course, maybe short term, that is exactly what you need to do. But if we're having a larger philosophical conversation about you changing direction in your life, in your career, in the status of your relationship or your non-existent relationship, or the status of, your heart and how open or inviting you are to the idea of a relationship, all of this, if you feel that you need to change direction, then that is something that you need to be 100% open to and supportive of for yourself. That's not something you need to beat down in yourself and make yourself afraid of. Don't stop intimidating yourself with that. You don't live under some sort of false need for perfection. You're not that person. You're not afraid of a mess. You're not afraid of a failure. You're not afraid of a risk. So what's wrong? If for whatever reason it's too much or it's enough and you just don't want to go in this direction anymore, It doesn't matter if that's a relationship or a job or a friendship or a career. It's okay to change direction. And all those people and all those lives that you think are beholden to you, they can't do without you, that's also not your problem. As cold as it may sound, it sounds that way to you because there's a lack of boundaries. And you seem to be waking up from the fact that there has been a huge lack of boundaries. I think that's part of the realization you need to come to make enough room for really big love, luck, energy to come in. So a part of that is, the acknowledgement of the betrayal, the acknowledgement of, people were around me for the wrong reasons, or, a lot has been taken from me. This Eight of Swords, this feeling of loneliness that comes with awareness. It can put you in a tough spot. Do you know what I mean? It can make things, it can make things very hard. But it's often when you get to that space and you are disillusioned perhaps by the people around you, or disillusioned by the core message or mission by which you thought you were working, when you get to that spot and you see things are different, then it makes it a little easier for you to also be different and for you to change direction. Now, I know this whole thing seems weird and unnatural to you to begin with because you're like, I'm the wind, I'm mutable air, I change direction whenever I want to. Right, so why haven't you been able to? You see? It's okay. We're just like everybody else. There's some things, for whatever reason, we can't do. And then once in a while, a month comes along with the perfect transits where we can do something that we never thought we'd be able to do. And it's incredible. And we do it. Inshallah, inshallah. It's going to be great. I love you so much. I'll see you in the extended.